Hey y'all, it's Your Southern Lesbian. I am Ashley Hydrick, your host. So we're talking about lesbian dating and why lesbians keep falling for emotionally unavailable women. Does this resonate at all? You know it does. Oh my God, when you start feeling that you have something in common with someone that you're attracted to, it's a train that is very difficult to stop, right? Now the problem is, of course, is that sometimes we confuse that connection with readiness. And into our brains start all the fantasies of like, oh, what's it gonna look like in 2 or 3 years when we're married? And we're in our own house or flat or apartment or on our little homesteading farm and we have 10 dogs and 5 cats, maybe a few miniature horses. I think that we see some red flags in the beginning, but we fall so hard for that potential. So here's what I've learned about the way the universe works. And I've been watching y'all on the TikTok. I've been watching the comments that go by. I've been watching the types of posts that I see. And a lot of them are really heartbreaking to me in our lesbian community. Because there's a lot of women out there who I feel like put things out like, well, I'm such a nice person and I'm so good and I feel like I'm doing all the right things, yet I get dumped on or I get lied to, I get cheated on. And a lot of times these people have this same story or similar story that goes on and it repeats and it repeats and it repeats. I did have that for years and my story repeated and repeated and that is the whole reason I got a life coach back in the day. And I was like, what am I missing here? What is it that I can't see? And she taught me a lot, but even with everything that I learned in my head from doing that work with her, it was only when I started dating again and started getting into relationships again that everything that I learned started to stick. So I want to share this with y'all because it really is heartbreaking for me to see some of this stuff online. I feel like it's a big thing in our lesbian community. You know, it's like most lesbians grow up with a fair amount of trauma by just being gay, you know, and that goes for the whole queer community. That's lesbians, gays, trans, the whole spectrum. If you have grown up having to suppress who you authentically are, there's some trauma there. So unless you get brave enough at some point in your life to overcome that and learn how to use your voice properly to advocate for yourself, you keep attracting people, relationships, friends, bosses, whoever it may be, that the universe is literally putting in your field to try to teach you this lesson to overcome this thing, right? I mean, personally, y'all know I'm a little woo-woo. I really do believe that, like, we chose to come in and learn certain things and overcome them to be part of this experience on earth right now. We won't go into all that today. Anyway, back to where I was. But it's kind of like taking a class. You know, it's like if you go through the experience and you pass the test and you speak up for yourself or you hold your boundaries, then you graduate and you go to the next level. If you don't learn your lesson and you continue to get walked on and you continue to get cheated on without any consequence for this other person, you have to repeat the lesson. And when I say no consequence for this other person, I don't mean beat them upside the head with your broomstick, Broomhilda. What I mean by that is you have to learn how to walk away from things that don't serve you, and you have to learn how to do it quickly. So here's how it works as I best understand it. Relationships, and I've said this to y'all before, relationships are like mirrors to us, and they show us where we still have room to grow. So if you are the type person that is an overgiver, you may not think you're an overgiver, you may just think you're a really kind person, and that you're always the one that steps up for somebody else and you're the good girl. You've got that conditioning, you know, you've never wanted anybody to look at you and feel like you're not giving 125% of everything you've got. Well, here's the thing. That is fine for you to be a giver, and I'm not saying don't be a giver, but if it costs you anything in your emotional well-being or your own schedule or the relationship that you're giving in starts to be unbalanced and you're giving this and the other person's giving this, that doesn't work. So what the universe is going to do is they're going to give you someone who takes. If you're overgiving, they're going to say, let me teach you that lesson a little harder. And they're going to give you somebody that takes and takes and takes and takes so that you now have a spotlight shined on this thing that you're doing, because we know that we don't control everybody else. We can't control our partners, nor would we want to, right? You want someone that's going to meet you here. So the only thing that we can do is control ourselves. So if you're dating somebody down here and you don't want to be this, you're probably not well matched. So the thing is, if you're recognizing this behavior, speak up about it. Hey, you know what? I've made dinner for us the last 4 nights in a row, and it would be really nice if you could handle that tonight because I got work to do or whatever. You don't even need a reason if that's what your agreement is, and if they make excuses and this becomes like a pattern, well, then you have to sort of have a conversation with yourself about, do I want someone that meets me more in center? And I'm just using that as an example, y'all. I know not everybody's a great cook like me. Just kidding. I'm terrible at it, but I do the best I can. And that's to say, y'all don't always have to do the same things. Like some of us are more gifted in being the planners, being the organizers for what we do, social events and that sort of thing, getting together with friends, dinners, whatever. And some of us are better at doing the grocery shopping, making dinner, cleaning. Not everybody cleans in the same way, but if you put your knives in right side up, it's wrong. But you know what I'm saying, right? There's got to be a balance there. So in this mirror, this is where you have to start looking at yourself. You have to stop looking at the other person and going, why are you always blah, blah, blah? And going, why do I always tolerate blah, blah, blah? Because here's the thing, I'm not saying that your partner didn't do something wrong by going out and cheating on you or by ignoring your needs, but the thing is, if you've had signs along the way and you ignored those and you stayed, that's kind of on you. And it was very much on me for a long time too. So now let's focus on growth and not self-blame, because you don't know what you don't know. And now that you know, I don't want you to do it again. So what I've learned is that in relationships, good girls, setting boundaries is not rejection. It is the kindest thing you can do for your relationship and for your partner. They need to know where your guardrails are. They need to know that if I cross this line, it's going to equal me losing you as a partner. And you need to hold those boundaries, and that's the hard part. I get it. She's really cute. I get it. Y'all have fun. You have a connection. I get it. But you got to stop negotiating for the little breadcrumbing. Y'all know what breadcrumbing is? It's like when they do the smallest little gestures possible just to kind of keep you hanging on. And you know what those things are, and everybody's going to be different. So when you're willing to walk away from someone that treats you that way, you stop negotiating for those crumbs. And I'm not saying threaten every little misdemeanor with a breakup. No, because nobody wants to walk on eggshells and live in that kind of fear. But I think that if things are always bothering your gut, if you feel like you're always overgiving, if you've had these honest conversations with your partner a few times of like, hey, I don't feel like my needs are being met. You're going out all the time with your friends and I want more time with you. And if she ignores that and continues to ignore that and doesn't prioritize the relationship, and you guys have had this conversation that one day you're looking at marriage, like this is a trial run to see if we're going to be partners and build something together, then she needs to also prioritize this relationship, period. And when I say that also, that doesn't mean that you guys have to do everything together and that prioritizing the relationship equals never going out with your friends. That's not what I'm saying. There needs to be a healthy balance. Again, you guys have to decide what feels right, what feels fair, because each instance is different. What you innately feel works for you might not be the same thing that works for somebody else, but you are the only one who can hold that line for you and say, this is what I really need and want in a partner. And if you haven't done this work before of journaling that out, I highly recommend that. Really take the time to get still, breathe, light a little candle, and write out like, what's really important to me in a relationship? What characteristics? I'm talking about values here. What matters to me? And don't put the negatives. Don't put she doesn't cheat, because then I feel like you're just attracting in cheating. Don't list negatives. List the positives. I want someone who's committed. I want someone who values monogamous intimacy. I want somebody that values 5 of us. Whatever your thing is. So when you set those boundaries, that is your self-respect. When you allow someone to repeatedly cross those boundaries, If you haven't spoken up for yourself, and I get it because I did this for a long time, I was afraid to vocalize my own needs. And if you're afraid to speak up for the things that you need, and I did this for a long time, I would think, well, I really love her, and I know that relationships are about compromise, so I'm not really going to worry about that thing because it feels like nitpicking, and I'll see if I can just tolerate that because I don't want to be too much. Girl, your emotional needs are not nitpicking. Your emotional needs deserve to be expressed. Hey babe, when you say these things to me, it really punches me in the gut. Could you maybe watch your tone on that or watch how you phrase that or whatever it is? You've got to be able to speak up in these moments. This is your self-respect because here's the thing. This is you setting that relationship up for success. You're laying the framework, setting up the foundation for this is how I want to be treated. So if she keeps knocking this brick down and knocking this brick down and punching this one away and not giving a shit about this one and stepping right over your foundation, how does that work? And what's going to happen is if you stay silent and you allow this and you don't walk away from that behavior, it's going to end badly. And then the universe is going to send you another one. She's going to have a different haircut and she might have a little cute French accent this time or whatever, but you're going to get that lesson again. And each time the lesson comes back around a little bit louder and a little bit more annoying for you because you've already been through this shit. So the goal here is not to become cynical. It's to recognize that maybe it's happening this way because you set it up this way. You allowed it to happen this way. I know, I hurt my own feelings when I said that. But it's the truth, and it's incredibly important that you guys hear this if you don't already understand this, because I don't want to see y'all continue to get mistreated. Have you ever noticed that those people who say they've been cheated on are the same ones that get cheated on and cheated on and cheated on? That's how that works, y'all. So set your boundaries early. Have the courage to walk away. This is self-respect. This is you saying out loud to the universe with your actions, this is not good enough for me. Send me something better. And then you sit back and you wait for something better and you expect something better. And when I say something better, I don't mean a better person because there's nothing wrong with all of our people we date. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying if she's not aligned with you, she's not aligned with you. This or something better. That's what you should expect. Tell the universe, I am ready for the next level. Ooh, this was the next part before graduation I meant to tell y'all. After you've gotten through all this, right? So now you've had your experience, you've had something hard happen, you've had to learn and have some growth, and you've had to up level a little bit, right? You've said to the universe, you've done your action. I don't want this. Send me something that's more aligned with me. Now guess what happens? You're gonna get tested. Sorry, you probably are. I fully expect to be tested one more time because once those lessons integrate, opportunities are going to show up for you to hold the line and show the universe, I've got it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. And then, after you have pushed that test away or firmly planted your boundary and the person has said, okay, I respect that, now that relationship that you want is going to come to you. Do I have it yet? No. But have I learned this lesson? Yes. Do I believe this? 1,000%. I sure do. Because I've watched other people go through this and live it. I've used this same set of experiences in other avenues of my life. This applies to everything, by the way, y'all. This is not just about relationships, and it's not just about romantic relationships. This can be friendships. You've got to set boundaries sometimes in friendships. I don't want to hear about your breakup for 6 months. I don't. Let's move on. Set the boundary. Hey, I've got other things I need to do tonight. Whatever it may be. Y'all know. Y'all understand what I'm saying. With a boss that walks on you. With a coworker who mistreats you. There are opportunities everywhere in life that are going to give you the opportunity to up-level and to prove to the universe that you can handle what's next and what's better. So practice, y'all. Practice on your friends. You can. It's like a super easy way to learn how to have these conversations and level up before you get into, Princess Ride. So the goal here isn't to become cynical. It's not to say, well, this is what dating lesbians is like, and I keep running into dead ends, and I'm just going to stay home, Broomhilda. No! You are highly capable just by being you, because I believe each one of us came in perfectly loaded and coded for our own, each individual, authentic life. So the more you push away what is not for you, the more you become magnetic for what is for you. That's what I'm trying to say. And healing doesn't mean you're never going to get triggered again. You are absolutely going to get triggered again. But hopefully this time you learn how to respond differently, because those triggers have nothing to do with you, and it's not about you, even though she might be making you feel like it's about you. It is all within your capability to handle how you respond and what signal you're giving to your field around you, to the universe, to say, hey, this is where I am. This is what I can control. This is how I'm going to handle myself because I want something better. So if you're listening right now and you are one of those folks who has given up on love, has given up on dating, there's nothing wrong with you. I'm telling you, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. If you're listening to this and something resonates, then there you go. It's time. This is your sign to get back out there. It's time. Here's the thing that I also believe, that I really want y'all to hear me on this. Because I believe that you are perfectly loaded and coded for your life, I think that we're loaded and coded with these desires, uniquely ours, so that we find our way to the things that we want. Maybe so we learn these lessons, yes, but here's the thing. If you have a vision that's very clear in your mind of what you want, I wholeheartedly believe that there is a match to that. There's something that's going to magnetize with you. So if you're over here saying, oh, I want somebody who's a cowgirl, who acts this way and has blonde hair, whatever. Well, don't be surprised when the universe shows up with your little cowgirl in the pink shirt with blonde hair. That's all I'm saying. I do believe that we are meant to magnetize to our desires. You probably see this happen in other areas of your life, right? If you think back in your life to something that, maybe back when you were a kid, before you were all jaded, think back to something that you really wanted as a kid, and somehow that happened for you. Like for me, I wanted horses. I wanted a horse so bad when I was a kid, and I used to sit in class and literally just daydream. Well, now they call that visualization. They call that manifesting. But I would literally sit and draw horses. I would sit and imagine myself. I could feel myself sitting on the horse, just walking throughout our little town, and what that would feel like to own a horse and ride it through the town. And lo and behold, my parents ended up buying a house that had a barn because it was like, I don't know, it needed some major work on it, and they were able to get it at an incredible price. They didn't have enough money to afford a horse property back in the day, so I just thought I'd never have one. And then my riding instructor, because I was lucky enough to be able to take some riding lessons, my riding instructor, y'all, had 2 horses that were ring sour, which means that they were just tired of being used, running in circles all day in lessons. And she said, hey, do you want to take these 2 horses? They were my 2 favorite horses. I look back on that now and I'm like, I was a pretty powerful little manifester. I've got tons of more examples like this when I think about how my life has evolved forward, though. Like when I was 18, I desperately wanted to get out of my small town. I was a music lover, and I thought, come on, y'all, this was the 80s, and I thought, how am I going to get out of this small town and go study music? How am I going to make money in that? What in the heck? God, I was going to church all the time because I was in the deep South, y'all. Lo and behold, once again, I go to my grandparents' 40th or 50th wedding anniversary party, and a cousin shows up that I had never met before, cousin by marriage, and she was a record producer. And she said, hey, you want to come with me? I'll help you. I moved to Atlanta. She got me an internship. She took me to sessions. She put me in touch with the university in Atlanta where I could get a recording degree. I was like, are you joking? You can't tell me that manifesting isn't real. You can't tell me that if you have a desire in your heart that you're so aligned with and that you believe deeply that you're capable of, that's not going to line up for you if you just take little steps, keep believing, get clear on what it is you want, and say no to that does not serve you. So like I said, if you're finding yourself in one of these cycles and you're feeling despondent, please don't give up. Please don't give up. Just do it differently. You're not broken, and you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Keep going. If you got something out of this, please, I would love to know. Please let me know if I'm on the right track with the stuff I'm talking about, y'all. I'm just here sitting talking into the void unless y'all tell me otherwise. I appreciate each one of y'all that do comment. You're so kind, and I appreciate your comments, and it means the world to me to know when this stuff resonates. And if it does, or if you feel like it might resonate for somebody you know, please share it. Liking, sharing, all of that stuff. As a little lone lesbian digital creator, it does help me, so I greatly appreciate you. If you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe. That also greatly helps me because you don't miss an episode, and it helps me because you don't miss an episode. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful week. I will see you next time, and thank you so much for being here. I appreciate y'all. Bye now. Just a reminder, y'all, I'm not a doctor. Everything I share here is for entertainment and encouragement, not medical advice. The views you hear are mine or my guests, not my sponsors. Any similarity to real people is purely coincidence.